All right, if we can call the meeting to order, start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the September 19th minutes?
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of CSE and CPSE recommendations. If no one has any comments, concerns, do I have a motion to approve it? Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay. We have public comment. I see a lot of people are here today. The Board of Education welcomes and encourages input from the public at board meetings. Please note that neither the board nor the administration may engage in dialogue or respond to questions concerning personnel or student matters. This is not an attempt to restrict public comment, but is done to protect the privacy of the individuals involved as required by law. As a matter of courtesy to others in attendance, comments of individual groups should be limited to less than 3 minutes. Before we start, I see that we have some government students. If you would like to stand and introduce yourself.
I'm Joe Hammer. I'm Nick Warner.
All right, any more hiding back? No. Just make sure you get your paper signed by the end of the meeting. And do we have any public comments? Yes, just state your name.
My name is Crystal Jacobs. I'm a member of the newly formed high school PTSA. I just wanted to introduce our organization to the board. We currently have about 20 members. We're looking at doing different activities throughout the year. Right now, we're focusing on maybe having a cornhole tournament in February, hopefully. Working with the BLT team to do a monthly coffee roundtable coming up soon.
Hopefully a community coffee, invite the community in, promote parent and community involvement, share ideas, very casual, informal, have community meet administration, and hopefully maybe a BOE member will come to one of our community coffees. And also to promote community and parent involvement. I just have one, sorry. Share that on social media and hang up around town on bulletin boards.
Wonderful. Now, how will you advertise your coffee hour meeting?
Well, we're still in the preliminary steps of organizing, but I think we're going to do it on social media and maybe in the newspaper.
Okay. Good. All right. Well, thank you.
And one other thing, we just had a meeting and we just had a presentation from the Walton Lions Club who introduced the Leos Club. So we're excited about maybe partnering with them to form that Leos Club here for students, which is basically just a youth version of the Lions Club. So,
Do you know how many members they have in that Leo?
no.
They don't have any yet.
Oh, they don't have any, they used to.
They used to have a Leos Club, but I don't believe it's active anymore.
Okay, so they're going to try to start that. Nice.
Sorry.
Very nice.
That's it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any other public comment? All right, do you want to start with Scott?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to start with Scott from Bernier, or BCA.
BCA. Our architectural firm.
Hi, good evening. Just going to talk tonight a little bit about a structural study that we undertook over at Townsend. I believe you all have copies of the report.
I got them. I'm going to handle them.
I'll wait until they come around the table here.
That's good. Sounds good. Yeah, Paul should have one. Everybody in the facility should have one.
So we met before the meeting with the facilities group and just went through this, but wanted to present it to the entire board and just go through what we found. So we were asked at the last board meeting to do a structural evaluation of the original portion of the building over at Townsend, the 1935 original structure. So we had one of our senior structural engineers, Mark Kimball, go over and meet Mr. Johnson over last October 4th and spent several hours, and as Mr. Johnson indicated, he took him to all parts of the building, even parts he wasn't sure he wanted to see. But he took him through all the crawl spaces and everything, and they looked at everything. So a little background, and I'm just going to kind of work my way methodically through this, and I'll try not to take too much time. The original building, it was 2 stories, constructed in 1935. Both first and second floors are structural steel beams that support steel bar joists with gypsum plank decking. In a 2000 project that you did, a year 2000 renovation project, modifications were made to both floors, the first floor and the second floor. And I'll start with the first floor. The first floor, they actually installed a gypsum plank decking was removed and then replaced with steel decking and lightweight concrete. And then all the bar joists on that first floor were then painted. Our observations of that through the report show that that's in very good condition. It's operating as was designed. We didn't see any issues with the first floor. The second floor was, there was vinyl asbestos tile on that floor, and that was removed. But instead of going back with the steel decking, they went back with 2 layers of plywood, and then the new vinyl tile was installed on top of that. And when I get into the recommendations, we'll talk about that a little bit, what issues that has caused. So we looked at the classroom areas. We also looked at the gymnasium area. The gymnasium looks fine. The structure was in good shape. There's some photographs on page 2 that show what that structure looks like underneath. The only issue we saw there was that some of the gypsum decking was falling, which is basically coming down, or coming out, but only in a few areas. It wasn't widespread. So we have some recommendations about how to deal with that as well, a little bit further on in the report. Over the classroom area, as I mentioned before, on the first floor, really with the new steel deck that was put down and the concrete topping, that floor is in good shape. Now, people have said you can jump on that floor and it moves. Well, it's actually designed to move. So there's really nothing structurally wrong with that installation, even though it might be a little disconcerting to somebody if they jump on it and they feel a vibration, that it was the way it was designed, and we didn't see any issues with that. Moving along, on the second floor, as I mentioned, that's where we found the plywood had been installed and then vinyl tile put over top of that. Now, there are issues with that. You can walk on that floor and you can feel soft spots, and that floor feels like it just doesn't feel like it's right. Well, the issue is that we think over time, since that plywood was installed, you've had moisture in there, you've gotten water in there, and that plywood is actually delaminated. So you're feeling spongy spots actually in the plywood underneath. So that's the issue with that. We did also look at the roof structure. The roof structure, we didn't see any issues with the roof structure. We also looked at the building foundation in that area, and in the original foundation, and we didn't see any issues other than some minor shrinkage cracks that probably formed within the first 6 months of when those walls were poured. So no structural issues there. So really our only recommendations for repair work is in the gymnasium area where there was some gypsum plank decking that has spalled. We said that we should go back in there and refinish that with some gypsum infill material, and then you can put some actual metal planks in there to support it. It's not a big job. It's something that you could probably even accomplish with your district staff if you choose to do that. First floor, no recommendations required or offered. The second floor, we would recommend that when you decide to do some work in that area, that plywood should come out. And we should actually, when that plywood comes out, there are a few areas there where the gypsum deck has spalled as well. We would recommend fixing that at that time. And then going back over that floor with a pourable cementitious layer it basically will replace the plywood with a cementitious material. And then you can put new vinyl floor tile over top of that. And your vinyl floor tile will adhere a lot better to that cementitious material. We did talk about tonight that, do you have to do that right away? The floors are what they are right now. There's some issues with them. You could leave them the way they are, but when it becomes time that you want to do something with those floors to fix that problem, that's what we would recommend you do, is to take that plywood up completely and remove it. It was pretty good news. We weren't sure what we were going to find when we looked at that. Anytime you look at an older structure like that, you can find issues that maybe you didn't expect, and we were pleasantly surprised at the condition of it. So it's good news overall. Any questions on the?
Scott, could you explain to everybody what try to pronounce it correct, cementitious floor is? What is that material, what it consists, just so everybody knows what we're talking about?
Well, it's basically almost like a concrete, but it's like a pourable type of material. So you pour it in and it finds its own level. You just pour it out over the floor and it finds its own level, and you pour that to 1.5 inches, 2 inches thick till you bring it up to the right height that you need. Then you put your vinyl tile, once that cures, then you put your vinyl tile on top of that, and you're right back in business with a new floor.
And to clarify, the 35 wing is from the gymnasium.
Yep.
If I'm looking at the building to the right, how far down? Is it past the offices?
No.
To the nurse's office.
To the
The
nurse's
nurse's office,
Yep,
okay.
Yep.
All right,
Not including the nurse's office.
Right.
okay. So it's not relatively the entire?
No,
floor.
just
So
that.
the construction of the other part
Mhm.
is probably the metal decking?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Yep.
Mm.
And there didn't seem to be any issues with that. It was really, the concern was brought about that those floors just felt like they were spongy and that there was concern that maybe there's something going on with the structure that we really need to understand. And sometimes you find that in older buildings like that maybe structural members are starting to deteriorate.
Right.
You need to go in and re-support. Fortunately, in this case, it doesn't seem to be the case. So your steel joists that are in that area are in good shape.
Well, thank you, because
Yep.
that gives us some peace of mind that, it's still a safe structure.
Yes.
It's just something that's going to have to be addressed in the
Right.
future.
Yep.
Well, thank you very much for this.
Okay.
Appreciate
All
it.
right. Thank you. All right. Thank you.
This is recording, what was your notes?
Okay, we have, here's one more public comment. We have introduction of new faculty. I understand that the mentors are going to introduce, who wants to go first? Go ahead.
Blanche Bach, English teacher, and I would like to welcome Jenny Bartlett as she's here, 1 year leave replacement, working full-time, teaching primarily 9th grade and some of our AIS classes. She's doing an excellent job so far. She's been in the district on and off for quite a while, and we all know her for fabulous business across the river, and we're very glad to have her here.
And who else?
Brian Ashlock, High School Arts, hopefully Hannah Guptill. She is our new full-time family and consumer sciences teacher. She's pulling double duty at both the junior high and high school. Doing a great job.
Stephanie Rosa, and it's my pleasure to introduce one of our own former graduates, Erin Pierce, who is here trying to fill in some pretty big shoes. She is a ag teacher, so she's taught in North Carolina, and she's been down there for 5 years, and she's back here with us. And we're very happy to have her. She's doing great.
Nancy Howard, fourth grade teacher. This is Jason Clark, who teaches in 5th grade. We have a good time, and I always tell him, you can come and ask me questions anytime. And now he makes me nervous because he walked in and asked 3 questions for you. I said, okay. And I said, at the end of the book, it said, let's talk about the half days of school. I said, oh, that's easy, we're not going to have them. So that was an easy one. So the next one, it says, out front, there's a flower bed in memory of Robert Martin. Bob, me Bob. So I just like, sure. We never called him Robert. He was a former head custodian that we lost tragically several years ago. The third one, and sorry, this one stumped me. I'm not aware that I'm going to have to look because he found it. Out front, we have a tree that is dedicated to Jimmy White, and he stumped me on this one. So he's right on top of things. He's sitting there. So I told him to go to the office and ask. But Jason and I have a good time, and he's sitting there very nice. So. Okay.
Hi, I'm Dominic Kishnich. I would like to introduce Julie Henninger. She is our 8th grade science teacher. She graduated from Binghamton University and she received a master's and bachelor's from there. Very passionate about teaching, makes great connections with students, and we are really excited to have her on our 8th grade team.
I am Linda Schick, first grade special education. I'd like to introduce Lisa Reinhardt. You may have seen her at the district. She is teaching 5th grade special education. Lisa has 5 children, 4 of which are currently students at WCS. One who has graduated and is at the side. Lisa got her degree from Maxwell University. She's taught special education in Arizona and here at Walton Central School several years ago. She first worked with Rob, who was guidance counselor at Yancey. And we're very lucky to have her at Townsend working with the
Nice. Well, welcome. We hope that you find Walton near and dear to your heart as we do. And we hope that you continue to reach out to your mentors if you have any questions, as well as your administrators and your superintendent. But please know that we are here for you as well. So if you have any questions or concerns, don't hesitate to let us know. Welcome.
Can I just say a couple words?
Yeah.
And I just want to say thank you to our mentors. We're very lucky that you are doing this for our new teachers. Our class of 2017-18 is a unique class, and we're very, very fortunate to have all of you here as part of the Walton family. I know the administrators are very pleased in the progress that you're making, so keep up the hard work, and I hope you have a great year, and you always know that you can always contact me or anyone else that's in your building, okay? But welcome again. And this is what, like your 20th time that we introduced you? Remember?
I think so. All right, well, we know that you guys all have a life, and we don't know if you want to continue sitting here any longer, so don't hesitate to get up if you'd like to. That's fine. And Scott, I understand that you have to hit the road, so that's fine. Unfortunately, the government students, you're in it for the long haul. Okay, we have Board of Education recognition.
All right, so that is me. So we're doing our Board of Recognition a week early for everyone. And I just want to read, I'm not going to read the whole proclamation, you have it in your folder, so I just want to put out a couple key points that I'd like to read. So it says, Members of the local school boards are dedicated to children, learning, and community, and devote many hours of service to elementary, secondary public education as they continually strive for improvements, excellence, and progress in education. Recognizing that all children can be successful learners, especially when education is tailored to the individual needs of child, and where local school board members are strong advocates for public education and are responsible for communicating the needs of the school district to the public and the public's expectation to the district by working closely with parents, educational professionals, and other community members to create the educational vision we all hold for today's students and those in the future. I just want to welcome our new board members. I know we've been together since July. We've actually done quite a bit of work as a board between working on our goals. We've met a couple times on that. Some of the retreats. Rhonda and Kevin, we worked on a retreat with the vice president and president, their roles. We continue to try to educate all of our board members in their functions and what we do. And I want, for the public to realize these people here, these 7 people that were elected, they don't get paid for any of this service. This is all dedication. And it's not just that we meet once a month. We meet several times. There's board workshops, they're on committees, there's phone conversations. President Rhonda and I talk several times or email several times a week, along with the other board members. So it's just not that we meet one month. It's a continual 24-hour job. From my position, I do appreciate your support. For some of us, we're starting to get to know one another and working together. I know our administrators and our teachers and staff really appreciate it. So it takes a certain type of person to do this, and there'll be a learning curve. But I'm very pleased that you're all here. And I always say this, and you hear me. We're here for kids. That's our #1 priority is for kids, and we're going to continue to do great things here in Walton for our kids. So I appreciate it, and I know my administration team really appreciates all your support. Our teachers and our staff do. So I just want to congratulate you. And I hope that we have a great year together. It started off really well, and I'm looking forward to our retreat in November and our goal training to continue with our administrators. But thank you. I mean that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So before, I have a couple things that I want to hand out, but just want to give you some of the things that were handed out. We have some cards that I want to pass around from different staff members and teachers. You can read those if you just want to pass them around. The vases that are in front of you are presented to the BOE, myself, and Dr. Reed. They have photos of the oldest and the youngest students, this year's seniors and last year's kindergartners, because this year's kindergarten is not photographed yet. They were made for you by the middle of our grades. Vases by the 4th grade and flowers by the middle school students. We hope you enjoy them, so please take those. And Andy, thanks for having your kids do that at the middle school. The glasses, you'll have some sunglasses in there, so when you're watching field hockey or football or soccer or spring sports, baseball, you'll be able to wear those. Those were donated by the Varsity Club. And we also have some scarves that are in the middle of the table. Those were made by our district clerk, Corey. So thank you so much, Corey, for putting the time and effort for doing that.
Thank you.
And we also have a cake that we'll have after the meeting. You can maybe bring it into executive session with you. That was by our cafeteria workers. And I want to thank Corey, because Corey was responsible for setting this all up, getting everything together. And I look at Corey, she's just as much a part of this board as everyone else that is sitting here. So Corey, thank you. I appreciate you doing all that for the board members as well. So thank you. So before I end, I want to hand out just a couple certificates. This goes to Rhonda Williams, our board president. She has served for 5 years on the Board of Education. Thank you, Rhonda.
Oh, thank you.
Next one is Kevin Charles. This is for 1 year dedication of service to the Board of Education. Congratulations. Thank you. Butch Neal for 26 years of dedicated service to the Board of Education. I mean, deserve more than a certificate. Jennifer Fay for 2 years of dedication to the service of the Board of Education. Paul Wood for dedicated service, just started in July. Congratulations, thanks for being on board.
Thank you.
Marilyn Lewis for 1-year dedication to the Board of Education. And Graydon Dutcher.
3 months certificate.
3 months. But again, I want to thank all of you. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you serving, so thank you so much. Give them a big round of applause.
These are wonderful. These are absolutely wonderful. I love this. It seems like since I've been on here, each year it's something completely different, and my window in my office is becoming full with everything that's been handed down. So thank you for everybody that had a part of this. It is a challenge, to say the least.
Someday.
I've learned that there's 2 things that you don't mess with people, and that is their money and their children. And unfortunately, we deal with both. So, but it's definitely the hard work pays off when you see the kids, excelling, at what they do. And today I was at the elementary school with my granddaughter, and we were going through the breakfast line, and the breakfast line was very long. And just listening to the kids, it was hysterical. Just listening to them as they're waiting, patiently up against the wall, waiting to go into the breakfast. So it's very enjoyable. But thank you for everybody that had a part of it, and thank you, Corey.
You're very welcome.
Okay, we are up to, I believe, discussion items. Does anybody have any discussion items?
I have one, and it's just because I'm on the policy committee, and I know that some of our policies are being redone at the state board. Just wondering when our committee is going to get going in earnest and things like that. So,
I can send out a couple dates, and we'll
okay,
start. Yep.
yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, especially to bring the new policy
Right.
committee people up to date on,
Yeah.
where we left off at the end of last year.
Yeah, and I was fortunate when Graydon and I attended the school board training up in Latham. I was able to speak with her briefly, and she gave us a heads up as to the policy revisions and things like that. But I'm just looking forward to get to work on that.
Okay.
And I know we had discussed different meetings, when we can have them, the number of meetings we have. Is it working to hold a policy or a committee meeting, I should say, any type of committee meeting before board meeting, or do you feel rushed, or does it depend on the committee? Does anybody
I
have
know, like,
suggestions?
for us, we discussed tonight that we're gonna, Scott is sending us some reports that are reports that were produced a few years back, that we've not reviewed. So he's gonna give us some opportunity. We're gonna review them, and we're talked in November of having another where we can meet on a separate night. Tonight it worked for us because we got an update on the school, and that way he could do the presentation to the board.
Right.
But I know for the facilities, we are looking to have another meeting that will not be on a board night, just so there is time for that discussion. So I think each committee is gonna have to kind of weigh that. What are they, if they're, like tonight, it was a one topic for us.
Right.
Up to speed, then we can come into the meeting, or if it's gonna be multiple topics, then I think
Okay.
we'll be, at least facilities is looking to do.
Okay, so I guess we'll leave it as, if it looks like there's a lot of stuff that needs to be covered, depending on the committee, then we'll decide whether to have it on a board meeting night or not. But like you said, if it's just one item, you can probably squeeze it in. And speaking of additional meetings, we need to start setting a date, or trying to compile a date that works for everybody for the goals training again. So I guess we will send available dates to Corey. The end of November, that's pretty much out. And I think with the last dates, when we were trying to compile the retreat, the end of November did not work. I don't know as if you want to carry it over into December. So maybe the first part of November.
We just took a
We
date
just
out
had
of-
this same
we took one date
discussion.
out of that too, so.
And the facilities committee was looking to meet tentatively on November 28th.
Okay.
So there's a date that we're looking to have already occupied.
Okay.
With our homework done, by the way.
Right.
That's November 28th. Okay, so that date is definitely, okay, so I guess we will send Corey some dates. You want to do it that we are not available?
Sure.
Does that work?
Sure.
Okay, dates you were not available for November. And hopefully they're less than the dates available. All right, so we will get back to that one. You were also going to compile a list from the administrative.
Yes,
team.
we have our admin meeting on Friday. So
Okay.
I'll be meeting
So-
with them and then I'll put the list out to you.
Okay,
Yep.
and then we'll get that before we set a date. All right, are there any other discussion items? No? Okay, correspondence.
I think we have anything.
Yeah, I don't think. No, we have nothing for correspondence. Okay, we have a YMCA update presentation. And Lisa, welcome.
So I have three things to update you on. I thought I would start with camp. So we had 2 weeks of camp this year, 14 campers the first week and 17 the second week. And that actually was the highest number of kids we could have because we had 3 staff, and the 1-to-10 ratio is great on land, but they were all younger kids than we had last year. And in the pool, we become a 1-to-5 ratio. So one thing we would like to do next year is increase the number of weeks of camp, because there was a good amount of interest in camp, and increase the number of staff. The camp was run by 2 of the people that were already working in the after-school program, and 1 new person who is a high school student, and she currently is working in the after-school program this year. We hired her on. She's fabulous. Molly. And I can't remember her last name right now.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, if you ever get a chance to interview Molly, she just shined. She gave me answers that adults don't give. So I was so impressed with her. The half-day camp, we changed this year to a half-day camp. Last year we went ahead and did 2 years ago, we did the full-day camp. We did a half-day camp this year, and that worked really well. We dovetailed it nicely with the things the village is already running, and it made it more affordable for families. So that worked really nicely. Brian Sprague works with us really well. He's fabulous, and he's very helpful. All of the campers were able to get scholarships to be able to attend free camp, because we had scholarship from the Walton Education Foundation, the O'Connor Foundation, FBLA, Varsity Club, Honor Society, Class of 2017, and the Townsend Elementary School PTA.
Wonderful.
Isn't that amazing?
It is.
Basically, the message here that we're giving our families and our kids is that we think it's important to provide excellent programming for kids here in Walton. And, the Walton Education, or not Walton Education, the O'Connor Foundation, we applied for that grant first, and it was a matching grant. So I had to have the other grants in order to get their money. And, what I wrote up for them about what we're doing here in Walton and the other program, the after-school program, and the hope that we will be starting preschool programming, they were just thrilled. They were thrilled to know that this was happening for the kids in Walton. So that's what I have for camp. Are there any questions about camp? Okay. So moving on to the after-school program, we currently have 25, or we did at the beginning of the month, 25 children enrolled, could be more now. 14 of them attend 5 days a week, 11 of them attend 3 days a week, and they get to choose their 3 days. Then they keep that schedule for the year, or they change it up, but they keep that schedule for a chunk of time. So the 3-day and 5-day options seem to be working well for the families. We were able to keep the fee the same, $45 for 5 days a week. Spring 2017, we secured $5,000 for supplies and curriculum through a YMCA HEPA initiative grant. HEPA stands for Healthy Eating and Physical Activity. So we were able to purchase $5,000 worth of things for the after-school program here in Walton. So we purchased a micro fridge and cookbooks and cooking utensils so we can do some healthy cooking and eating with the kids. We also purchased Spark curriculum and equipment to implement more physical activities. So we actually have a big equipment locker and many types of balls and different yoga activities. We got yoga mats. So there's a lot of stuff that we can do with the kids, and we were able to get that grant from the YMCA and New York State. Staffing changes for 2017 and 18 include that Meredith Baker is now on the registration for Office of Child and Family Services as the director of the program. Rebecca Banker is serving as our assistant director in the program, and I'll have more about her in just a minute. And Heather Conklin is transitioning out of being the after-school coordinator because she took on the director position for the Oneonta preschool that we run, and she's being replaced by Colleen Irby, who also is one of my staff at Center Street. Colleen has been a director for Head Start a number of years, and so she's well-versed in everything that's required for the Office of Child and Family Services guidelines. Any questions about after-school program?
I do have one. What were the hours of the after-school program again?
I want to say 2:45. What time do you get out of school?
I think it's about
2:45.
So 2:45 is when it starts, and it goes until 5:15. However, Heather has worked it out. I know she's done this in Cooperstown, and she does it here, and Heather's not doing it anymore, but the directors take it on. They work it out if there are families that need 5:30, because we know that some people get out of work at 5.
Right.
So we really try to make it 5:15. And I don't think we have anybody here that's going till 5:30, at least not regularly. In Cooperstown, we have a family that goes regularly till 5:30. So those hours seem to be working. I don't think we have to extend them.
Okay. It's just very nice.
Yeah.
You know, a nice opportunity, a nice, safe environment for
It
the
is.
kids to be in.
It really is. And, you know, the Meredith Baker, she's excellent. She's just wonderful. She actually entered the kids in the after-school program into a contest with ARC, and they made a video, and they had people from ARC come, and the kids got to learn about diversity and people who are differently abled. And they made T-shirts, and they made this video, and they won $100. So that was last year. They were able to, you know, they spent $100 on a party for the after-school program. So it was pretty cool. And she's always looking for things like that. So I just love her. I really do. Moving on to after-school program. Well, or not after-school, I'm sorry. YMCA Jumpstart Preschool at Walton. Boy, I worked really hard on this, and I just couldn't get all the pieces to fall into place for this fall. But I have plenty of time now for next fall. Every time I took a step forward, I thought I had a teacher. I hired an assistant teacher. The teacher then couldn't do it anymore. So I hired that assistant teacher as a teacher in Oneonta, and I am training her up for Jumpstart. And so next year I'm going to need a teacher in Oneonta. But she will be here as the lead teacher. She'll also be able to be the director, because we're going to have a director teacher. The beauty of her working in Oneonta this year is that she'll be able to train as the director under Heather too. So that's really excellent. Rebecca Banker, many of you may know her. She has a dance studio here, and so she's serving as our assistant director in the after-school program, and she is thrilled. You know, she drives over the mountain every day to teach in Oneonta, and then she comes back here to do the after-school program and then teaches in her dance studio. God forbid she gets a life. But she's thrilled. She said, I know so many of the kids already, you know, so she's really super excited about that. I think working in the school, getting to know families is going to place her just beautifully for being our lead teacher next year. She's already on board with doing a couple of open houses during the time that you're going to be doing your enrollment for UPK. So this year, my hope had been to do a half-day wrapping program for the afternoon UPK kids. I think with this much lead time, we really could do a full day. What we do is we would have fewer kids in the afternoon is what ends up happening, because most people want a morning preschool program. So we'll take 3 and 4 year olds, 3 to 5 year olds is what the license is, but 3 and 4 year olds that are not UPK kids into the program as well, so that we can fill the program. We know it'll run. We switched rooms at Townsend, and the after-school program is now using the room that is going to be a shared room with the preschool. So we have a whole lot of equipment there. We were able to, we're going to be able to use the old UPK furniture, so that's going to save us some expense as well. The application for approval is planned for early 2018. We have 90 days to do that, so I need to get both of my staff in place. I have 90 days from the start of application to when it is approved. Can't do it too terribly early because we're using it for after-school program, and we are going to have to set it up as preschool programming once it's in order to get that approval. So I have to do that carefully. But when do you do your UPK enrollment?
It's March.
March. So if I aim for February to have that approval, then in March we'll have the classroom set up. We can have a couple of open house nights, have people right in the classroom. I think it's going to be a win. I really do. There isn't anything here for preschoolers, right, except if you're eligible for UPK, or there's one other program I understand, but it's
Head Start.
Head Start.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the plan. Does anybody have any questions for that?
Lisa, I just wanted to thank you. This is our third year. So it was, you know, we started it and the numbers were low. You stuck with us. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Get that after school program going. Then the summer camp last summer, you said, you know what, let's just go with it. So you stuck with us there. We got the numbers up. And I know the wraparound, we talked during the summer and I know you tried to get that going, but it sounds like you got a great plan to get it
Yeah.
going next year. So thanks. You know, I know it's to have the YMCA here in Walton's a great advantage for us and for our kids. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us. I have to say that we love working with the people in Walton. Everybody here is so supportive of us and just asks us, what else can you offer? And it's just fabulous to be able to offer good programming for kids. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Links 19.
Ann and Clarence.
Hello.
Seems to be an annual event for me.
Yes.
So, a little bit of background just on Links and how it's changed over the years, because we do have so many new faces. There was a time when I started on Links, I think it was back to Links 13, we would set 5 or 6 goals in a Links plan. And we did that for several years, and then we found that we spent a lot of time trying to develop the goals and how to do them, and by the end of the school year, we hadn't accomplished what we set out to do. So probably back to Links 16 or so, we said, let's tackle one and just do it really well. And at that point, we did close reading and annotating and implemented that kindergarten up through, and that was successful. So when we introduce this as a new Links goal, please remember that we're setting one goal per year, but we haven't dropped the other ones. This is cumulative. So we're still doing the close reading stuff, and we're still working through. So this is our Links team members. If you want to flip over.
So, our goals for 2017-18. All students in Walton Central School District will continue to receive explicit instruction, which includes student learning objectives, active teaching, and a formative assessment, and differentiated instruction to include targeted interventions and/or enrichment. A data-driven culture will be created, which is why we've developed data teams in the buildings and supported through effective training and data-driven instruction and use of instructional technology. We keep working on trying to take the information that we have so that when we see that there's a gap or that something's going well, that we can then continue or build on what we already have.
Aspects of our explicit instruction, we all received training last year. It's continuing to come through this year. We all have an expectation that we're supposed to be turning in lesson plans into administrators for review, one per week, coming through so that they can see how we're meeting that goal. The direction of explicit instruction from a very practical standpoint is classroom teachers going to deliver very clear instructions and modeling as to what it looks like. Students would then have the opportunity to practice that either in small groups or pairings, and then they would have independent practice. It's fairly prescriptive in how it's set up, but it is like it's what you would expect of any quality education or teaching experience, where I'm going to make it abundantly clear what I want you to do. I'm going to give you lots of opportunity to try it out, and then we're going to see if you can do it back. So that's really when we talk about explicit instruction, that's what we're talking about. In the middle school, high school, when we're talking about data-driven instruction, we're working primarily to make sure that we don't miss students that slip between the cracks, the students that maybe are passing and moving on each grade level, but they're still missing fundamental skills. In the middle school, they've had the data team as part of their focus designation as a way to get improvement on that. The high school is working very hard with their data team. We've been able to assess both English and math proficiencies. We've been able to find students at risk both in reading levels and mathematics concepts. And we're actively working to implement interventions for that, so that hopefully, this is with our 9th graders in the high school, hopefully by the end of 9th grade, as they start 10th grade, they've caught up to where they need to be. Just some parameters of that. We have groups of 9th graders that are at a 6th grade reading level or lower, some that are math, that are at an elementary math proficiency. And we've always kind of known that informally as classroom teachers, as guidance counselors and stuff, but with the data team and the resources we have, SRIs, QRIs, Imagine Math, we're actually able to, student by student, find out their strengths and weaknesses on a very individualized basis and make adjustments to their education to get them caught up.
And in the elementary building, we're using different programs to help us analyze where the kids are at. We're using STAR Math, we're using Fontes and Pinnell scoring, code knowledge, and just using all of those things then to help find the kids who are having gaps and how to get them to improve. We're also trying to work more ways in providing enrichment for those kids who are moving forward so that they aren't held back but encouraged to then keep improving. And always, the emotional and social needs of all of our kids will continue to be a priority for all of our staff. Our goal is to really build relationships with these kids and be there as a resource and as mentors, not just teachers, but helping them to continue to improve.
And that's probably our greatest strength in this district, is we all reach out to the kids in one way or another, and everybody gets a connection made at some point, and we're all really dedicated. As Mr. Clough says, our business is kids. We try to do everything we can to make sure that they get the education they deserve. Any questions about any of this technicalities? Wonderful stuff. All right, thanks.
You guys
I do have one.
Yeah.
Do you see, are there any roadblocks that are preventing you from getting any of your goals that you can think of on a big scale that people can be aware of to help? I mean, are there constraints?
I can't say that there are this year with what we're looking at, and I think probably the biggest thing was that change we made from instead of doing 4 or 5 goals, we said, let's just K to 12 or UP K to 12, let's do 1 and do it really well.
And focus.
Yeah, so.
And so through all of this, we've went from the close reading to the explicit instruction, and now we're just going to keep building on that with the data-driven instruction and see that we're really building on it.
Time. I mean, just, you guys know that's our biggest obstacle ever. You guys talking about the committees, and it's the same with all of us. We're all on a million committees, and we're all trying to vie for the same work day. But no, we have the resources we need. We have the people on the committees steering the direction of this work. We have the people that are dedicated to make it happen. So
good.
We're in good shape.
Mr. Lepar, Mrs. Hartman, can you, just so the new board members understand, we do this at the end of the summer, you spend 2 full days, and then they come back for a 3rd day. I mean, then you have other you have meetings in between those.
We keep spreading meetings out through the
Right.
whole year that we analyze and look at how we are doing toward reaching the goal that we have set and see any roadblocks or things that we need, or if there's just continued monitoring if we're on the right path.
And the links, for those of you, if you are unfamiliar, the links plan, Links 19 is developed in August. Every August, there's a regional meeting. Sometimes we go
Unadilla Valley,
or over to Norwich,
Sydney.
But all the regional schools are there for kind of some centralized work. And then they break off within schools, or we go back to our home school and develop our specialized Walton plan. So.
And LINKS is not an acronym.
Do you find that it's their recommendation as well to lessen their goals, to 1 or 2, to make sure that they accomplish that well?
I think I've seen that pretty much regionally.
Okay.
Yeah. I know when we changed it. I remember we had the conversation, and it was probably 15 of us at one point on the Links committee. We said we can't keep doing this the same way and not meeting the goals, otherwise why set the goals? And that was really the motivation, is years of not doing what we said we were going to do. We said, let's simplify. And like I said, we don't give up on a goal. We aren't going to lose this next year when we make a new one. It's just cumulative. We're going to just keep adding.
Yeah. Good.
Any other ones?
All right.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We are up to additions to the agenda. I believe we have.
We have one item that is presented as a consent item. It is the September treasurer's reports, which came in today.
Yes. Did everybody have time to review that? If not, we can pull this, but.
Pass that down.
Okay, so
Would
you
like
want
it
to
removed from consent then,
remove it from consent?
or just hold it over
Yes.
for another meeting?
Okay.
So
Let me
that, just so you know, board members, that the transition from ONC to DCMO happened. So this will not, I'm not going to guarantee it, but this should not be a norm, just so you know. But I just wanted to make sure that you had it in your packet so that you knew it was there and complete. So DCMO now is officially doing his report to us.
Yeah, I think it's best that we pull it and then we can review it.
Please.
Take your time, Corey, just let me know when you're ready.
Well, it's still showing action consent, but I've removed the motion.
Okay.
We'll see what happens.
Were you able to get the descriptions on those?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
'Cause I mean, maybe we can talk about it.
Okay.
But no, I did not.
All right, you're all set? Sure. There it goes. Okay, all set. All right. So there are no other additions to the agenda. Does anyone want to, the consent agenda, for those in the audience in the government class, these are typically normal items that come up each and every month. You know, some of them may be financial reports, resignations, unpaid leaves, emergency appointment type things like that that will come up on a daily basis or a monthly basis. And we compile them into a consent agenda. So that's what we are up to right now. Does anyone want to pull any items from the consent?
You can pull that, right?
Oh, that's not on the consent though, is it? That's on new business.
Oh, it is, you're right.
Yeah, that's new. Okay, so. Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now we are up to new business, number 10A. I recommend that we pull that from the agenda, as well as 10D, the pilot agreement. So the personal appointment and the pilot agreement for new business. And we are up to 10B. Adopt Links 19 Plan 2017-18. Do we have a motion? Second? Okay, all in favor? Oh, Jen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The 10C, Adopt District-Wide Safety Plan. I believe that there is discussion about that, correct? Let me get out my. We have one item. This is in the safety plan. This is under F. It mentions the year of the training and the revisions. Did everybody get the recommended revisions? Okay. Am I correct? Does this need another 30-day, once it's amended? We have to wait an additional 30 days before we can...
If you want to take the August 2013 date out, yes.
Okay.
Did Mr. Lamro explain that that wasn't mandated?
Right. No, I explained it. Yeah, it wasn't. That was just for historical facts.
So were we removing
That's why we
that?
put it in there. We would
Is there any
recommend that you would still
conversation
keep
on
it
that?
in there, but it's just for documentation.
From my perspective, August 2013, I mean, that was 4 years ago. I just think that if we do have annual training, I think that, I don't know, I think that number is just stale because we've certainly had staff turnover. I know that maybe not the applicable frontline staff it affects, but that was my interpretation. It's 4 days old, or 4 years old. It just looks like it should be.
Are we
just
emphasizing
omitted.
that? Yeah, are we emphasizing that staff is up to date, you know what I mean, versus that training date?
And that's what I emphasized August 13th, you know, and at first I was thinking, okay, we haven't been trained since then?
No,
they're trained every
annual
year.
training after, but.
Right.
But I think if you take that out, we don't need the 30 days. It would just amend.
Right, we can just amend
Right.
it. From what I understood,
I was
Mr.
thinking we could
Lamro
do that.
said that in 2013, the staff that is still here was trained.
Okay.
But he has contacted the safety officer at BOCES, who is putting together another training just because he said it's a good idea to have a refresher.
Right.
I think an
And as-
annual training would be.
Annual at least, and then some process to pick up new hires who may come into that frontline staff who would need the training. So,
Right.
logged in or something just to make sure that they are captured
Right.
in that.
Part of the
Okay, so
mentoring.
am I just going to say, visitors entering the building were trained on assessing, just remove the date altogether?
Yeah, we're not removing the whole parent, it's just the
Just
August
in
2013, right?
August 2013.
Yes, I think if you just remove
Then we wouldn't have to do
The-
anything then.
right.
Okay.
the August of 2013. But yeah, I think annual training, and is that BOCES offers that annual training?
No, it's
BOCES
usually
or
the
it's somebody-
principals, like Mike does it with his people, Mark does it here. But you're talking about Rick Shaw doing the training.
Mr. Shaw is going
Right.
to do another training.
Okay.
So it's not an annual, BOCES doesn't do an annual training. We talked with Rick and Rick said he thought it would be a good idea if we did something like that, so. But that's
Yeah.
something that I'm sure that we could have BOCES do each year as part of professional development.
Right, Mr.
Right,
Shaw
that would be-
has retired or is retiring.
Is retiring,
and they're
right.
in the process of replacing him right now.
Okay. All right, so,
I mean, if you want to date stamp this thing, if you just wrote up after where you say initially trained in August 2013, I don't
To
know.
keep it there.
I don't know
Or
what the
initially
benefits,
trained?
I don't know what the benefits are for having a date stamp on this thing. It's in there for a reason. But if you say they're initially trained in 2013,
Mhm.
and then it says annual training will take place in the next sentence after that,
Okay,
I think that change would emphasize that it started on this date and continues.
okay.
That's up to everybody else's discretion.
okay. Is anybody opposed to that being amended like that? Okay, so I guess we will make a motion to adopt the district-wide safety plan as amended.
Right.
Do we have a
I'll
motion?
move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, that's carried. Okay, 10D, we are going to pull, all right, we are up to, there are no old business. I believe.
No policy.
No
update.
policy update, so we are up to administrative remarks. I'm going to start with Mr. Dale.
I don't have anything tonight.
Okay.
Then me, right?
Yep.
Okay. Today, we had a very successful day. We did the Wear Pink Day to help fight breast cancer. At the end of the day, we had several staff members come over and we took a picture, so please look into that. And then everybody's going to be donating to the end of the month. So I was pleased to see so many staff members wear pink and support the cause.
I don't know if everybody's got a chance to see Mr. Snyder's.
Yeah, did anybody see it?
Pink
Everybody saw his
jacket.
pink jacket, flamingo pink.
If you're near him, you're not gonna miss it.
Exactly.
We told him to leave because it was too bright. That's why we told him to go. I just want to thank everyone again for the homecoming. It was very successful. I just looked at, we did a video on homecoming that we're going to be releasing, and it turned out really nice. Mr. Purdy did it.
I was wondering if you
Yeah.
incorporated some of the.
He did a really nice job on it. And we're going to incorporate that. And I think I sent you this in the Friday letter. My messages are no longer being typed, so you don't see it. So I'm trying to update it. A couple times a month. If you go on my superintendent's messages, you'll see me talk about the district and what we're going, what we've been doing and things like that. It's more personal message for the community. We're going to incorporate this video into that. So, but I'll tell you when we release it. But he did a really nice job on it. The next step into this is a recruitment video. So when we go into March or April, when we start to recruit some teachers, we would really like to use a video to promote our district and the great things that are happening so people can actually see things that are happening here in Walton. So that'll be our next step. So pretty excited about that. So I'll keep you updated on that. I wanted just to get back to you because we talked about the app for our phones.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to continue to work on that. And with the app, the other piece of this is redesigning the web page to fit that app. That is all going to be paid through a grant. We can do it through our Focus grant because it's for community. So Dr. Reed incorporated that into the grant. But I told you before that I would bring this to you so you can sort of take a look at it, just so you have some ideas about how it's going to look. But it's going to again update our pages, and update it on our phones and things like that. So I'll let you know about that. That's probably December that I'll bring that forth to you. So.
Is that app, just a question, is that app similar to like what Delhi has, for example?
I
Delaware
haven't
Academy?
seen,
I think they have an app.
do they?
I'm just wondering.
I think it makes it easier, by having the app, so
Right.
you can actually
I'll look.
view the
Let me
documents
look.
properly.
I just asked because the website itself, if you look at it, it can be overwhelming for
Yes.
some of the public. I mean, there's so many links on that, but
Right.
they say 3 clicks away on a website, you've lost it. So an app that would be very simplified would be
Right.
welcomed, I'm sure.
So we'll bring that to you, but I'll look at the Delhi one, I'm not sure. So, have you guys seen the Delhi yet? Just a reminder, the Halloween parade, yes, it's only a couple weeks away, Halloween. I think it's 2 weeks from tonight. The big parade's at 1:30, starts at Townsend. So if you can make it, that'd be great. I know everybody would love to see you there. I also want to, there was a couple board members, we did the New Hope Church new basketball court dedication. It was a great day. I mean, it was a beautiful day. The court is a really nice court for the community. I was telling them we're very lucky to have a neighbor like that next door, and Pastor Larry does a lot for our community. And I know Paul was there, Kevin was there, so which was nice. And it was a nice turnout. They had, I want to say over 150 people who emailed me.
Yeah, there was, yeah.
Had a really good turnout.
There was a
so,
lot of
right. Just a reminder, tomorrow is Bus Driver Appreciation Day. Starts at 8:30 sharp. So if you're a little bit late, don't be offended because we're going to start right at 8:30. Okay. We just need to start at 8:30. So. And the last thing I just want to let you know, Rhonda and I talked about bringing back driver's education back to the district in the summer. So I did look up a couple grants, and I did apply for a grant through Toyota for driver's education. So I'm working on that, and I got another grant that I'll be submitting to let you know how that turns out. So, and if we can't do it that way, we'll continue to see if we can start working on some things. And I think it's part of a discussion that we probably want to have earlier when I was talking with Rhonda, maybe to get, if it's something that we're committed to, even to post it to see where we're at. Because we really need to get started if that's something that we want to do.
Right, and if we need to incorporate it into a budget. I think it's a life lesson, and it's an opportunity for kids that may not necessarily have that opportunity, because maybe, they don't have access to a vehicle. So, and I know with my own kids, they probably listen better to the driver instructor versus me, so.
What if it was George Shackleton?
Exactly.
Under employee orientation, didn't we have a resume that had driver's ed on it?
We did, but he's from Connecticut, where he's certified. I'm going to talk with him, yes.
Okay.
And he knows I'm interested in that.
Just thought I remembered that, that's all.
You did. It was Connecticut, though, yeah. And I also, you saw my email about all of our teams are in some sectional games. We had the
Yes.
girls varsity soccer today. Boys varsity soccer is tomorrow. Field hockey.
Field hockey's right now in Sydney. Volleyball's playing in the MAC semifinal game right now. Those are all the whistles we'll hear.
So our teams, our teams have done a tremendous job getting to that next level. So I'm very proud of them. So if you see any of the teams, or if we do make it to the next level, if you have time, please come out and support our team. So
Nice.
that's it. Thank you.
So with the driver's ed, we'll probably have to give that a serious budget look because it's not just the teacher, it's also the vehicle.
Right.
That's
Right.
not a normal.
So part of that grant, the Toyota
Vehicle,
grant,
right.
was a vehicle that
Okay.
I applied for as well.
Awesome.
So we'll see.
Yeah. Good. All right. Okay, so that is it. We do have a need to go into executive session to discuss a particular personnel. And do we have anything else that we're,
No, that would probably be the main, right?
all right, so do we have a motion to go into, well, no. We have to sign the government classes letters before we do that. Well, yeah, I guess we could. yeah.
Can adjourn.
So you want to
and-
move that and then
Okay.
a second. All right.
Second, yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Everybody.